Hey guys, what's up? Szerro here. I'm back with another one of those video reviews. So this game was sent in to me by OSaV. If you guys are unfamiliar with OSaV, he is a tournament player. His name pops up pretty often. He's a pretty strong player. So in this game, he's playing Swordcraft, and he's playing against a Summit Temple, Haven. He's on the play against his opponent who's on the draw, obviously. Sword is a type of deck that's perfectly happy going either first or second. So here I like the mulligan, so sometimes you don't really want to keep the Celia just because you'd rather have a stronger 2-drop, but since you're going first, you don't get to see too many other cards. So keeping the Celia is just playing a little safe. And he draws that Holy Bear Knight. Holy Bear Knight is probably the strongest of all of all the cards he could have played that turn. Maybe the Bladed Hedgehog would have been a little stronger, but I think I like the Bear Knight. The Bear Knight just ends up protecting this Mars in a way that the Hedgehog would not have been able to. I really like the trade that OSaV does here into the Snow White. It increases the chances of the Mars sticking. Now, obviously, the Haven did have a black inscriptor and the Mars wasn't able to stick, but I just like that. So, on this turn, well, let me go a little bit further. So, on this turn, as the Sword player, you have a couple options here. You can just play out a lone 2-drop. You can pop your Chromatic Duel. You can play your Lancer of the Tempest, or you can play 2 2-drops. And all of those plays are a little problematic. So at this point, you're going to be going close to turn 6 very soon. So you're kind of incentivized to keep the Chromatic Duel hidden. And playing out followers is really awkward because you're going into your Haven opponent's turn 4, and turn 4 on the draw is almost always going to be a cudgel from a Haven. So I really like his decision to not play anything there. And this just gets met with his Haven opponent just playing out a couple amulets. Now here, Celia is a perfectly fine play. It's just a solid card to put on the board. It puts up so many stats. This evolve, though, I don't really understand. I don't understand what he was trying to accomplish by doing that. It does let him push some more damage, so maybe that's what he was going for. This Chromatic Duel ends up being pretty reasonable. It's a little awkward because he ends up getting forced to evolve his Chimera. I'd be a little happier with this play if we hadn't evolved the Celia last turn. Now granted, the Celia did push 2 more damage this turn, so maybe it ends up being right. The Celia is still pretty obnoxious. It's hard to deal with at the moment. Had he not... Well, no, actually he ends up just being able to evolve right over it. So I don't think I agree with that Celia evolve a couple turns ago. Playing the Queen Magnus on this turn, definitely a solid play. You're going into your opponent's turn 7 from Haven. Turn 7 from Haven is almost always John Beacon of Salvation, and you don't want to play right into that. You're keeping a nice wide board, and you're going to have a strong chance of having a Sky Fortress target next turn. The Haven has a pretty strong answer here. He's able to clear up most of the board, but he's not able to clear up the whole thing. So there is going to be a target to hit with the Sky Fortress. And I like this just going into the non-Bane unit just to give the Sky Fortress a chance to hit something else. Now this John is just going to put some damage onto the board, and it's going to end up letting this Serenian Hind hit face for 7, which is quite a bit of damage. Now here, I wanna pause. What did he get? Yeah, so I want to stop right here. So he ends up playing... He ends up doing this, right? So his Haven opponent is at 6 HP. So there's a gamble you can take here. You can, right now, looking at this hand, if you can't beat, what's the name of the card? You can't beat a Heavenly Knight at this point of the game, looking at your hand. If your opponent has a Heavenly Knight next turn, you're probably going to not be able to get over that ward. So here, he's able to take a gamble, and he can just go ahead and play this out, and then play the Sky Commander Celia, in storm mode and just hit for 3, setting his opponent down to 3. And then he has the second one to do that same play the next turn. Instead, what he ends up doing is he goes wide like this. So this ends up being more conservative. This plays around a Heavenly Knight a little bit better, but I still don't think you're in a position where you could have beaten the Heavenly Knight had your opponent had it. And as you can see, the opponent didn't have this Heavenly Knight. So I think... So now we're kind of stranded if you're looking at OSaV's hand. You're kind of stranded on... Actually, before we get this Cahoolan, right? You're stranded on ways to deal with the board, and you don't really have an avenue to victory anymore. Had we had gone face for 3 damage last turn, we could have closed out the game this turn. You would have lost to the Heavenly Knight, but I don't think you would have been able to beat it anyway. Unless you knew you were going to top deck that Cahoolan, which you can never know that. So here there's just some trades that go down the line, and this Heavenly Aegis comes down and sets up a pretty big threat. And OSaV is honestly kind of in trouble right now. He gets a Gawain. The Gawain is not going to be incredible. It's going to let him deal with the Jeweled Priestess, rather. And he keeps holding on to this Celia, probably wanting to save it for Storm mode. That's, at the moment, that's the best avenue you have to victory, I believe. And here we go. There's a top deck Sky Fortress, which was incredibly timely. This actually closes out the game. So I think overall, OSaV played the game pretty well. My biggest gripe with this game, which it might be a little unfair to call it a gripe, is I just would have liked to have seen him go face those turns and thrown caution to the wind, not played around that Heavenly Knight in the way that he did. Because he would have died to that Heavenly Knight. Which turn was it? I believe it was this turn right here. He would have died to the Heavenly Knight had his opponent had it, because 8 plus 7, that's going to be more than 14. But I just think the risk is worth it. He ended up getting there with a couple top decks, and some good play. You can't deny that he played most of the game pretty well. And my line is not arguably the better line. His line clearly got there, so congratulations to him. And thank you, OSaV, for sending in this game. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I hope everyone who enjoyed this sends in more of these games so I can review them. Thanks, guys. Bye.